So guys, today on Sports Central, we'll be going over a college football game preview over the 2019 Pinstripe Bowl between Michigan State and Wake Forest. Should be an interesting one here. Of course, both teams kind of struggled down the past later parts of the regular season. But the previous game for both these teams, Michigan State did beat Maryland 19-16. That should have been a much bigger blowout for Michigan State, in my opinion. Maryland, just at the end of the season, has been an absolute shipwreck. So 19-16 win over Maryland is a little bit concerning to me. Wake Forest lost to Syracuse, though, in overtime, 30-39. So then again, Wake Forest did have a pretty bad loss to end off the year. But some key stats from that game, Lewerke from Michigan State, he's had actually a pretty decent year, but really hasn't been all that pitched. And I mean, of course, he has had a couple of bumpy games in there. But yeah, Lewerke had a pretty good game there against Maryland overall. I mean, 30 for 41. That's a pretty good completion ratio, 342 yards and 2 interceptions. If you can drop those interceptions, that'd be great for him. But he did not have a touchdown in that game. As for Wake Forest, they had Hartman, who has been one of their quarterbacks here this season. And he is 25 for 42, 350 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. This game is going to be on Friday, December 27th, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time in Bronx, New York. Spread currently says Michigan State by 3, but the ESPN FPI is saying Michigan State as well, 60%. Vegas is actually saying Wake Forest in this one. Surprisingly enough, they're saying Wake 28-24. Yeah, your stack comparison for this one as well. Michigan State, they've got 22 points per game, 22.7 points allowed per game, as well as 238 pass yards per game, 123 rush yards. They're pretty. They like to pass a lot more than rush, apparently, with 238 passing yards, and they get 123 rush yards a game. So yeah, that means that Wake Forest's secondary is going to need to really be up in gear for this one if they're going to get the win. But as far as yards allowed, 210 pass yards, 108 rush yards for Michigan State. Their record is 6-6. For Wake Forest, 32.8 points per game, 29.3 points allowed, 297 pass yards, and 175 rush yards. So this is a pretty good offensive team, and we've seen that all season long. They've done pretty good on offense. So that's something Michigan State's going to need to do well on is defense. As far as yards allowed, they've allowed 247 pass yards and 162 rush yards per game. In your previous 5 games, both these teams, of course, Michigan State, once again, they beat Maryland, but they had a pretty good game against Rutgers as well, shutting them out 27-zip. They lost to Michigan, though. They were ranked 15th at the time, and they had to go on the road. They got absolutely annihilated, 10-44. Then they lost to Illinois, too. That is a team that you probably shouldn't be losing to. And I mean, I understand that Illinois has been a much more improved team here this season, but 34-37, I think you got to beat Illinois in that situation at home. With Penn State, they also lost to them 28-7. Penn State was ranked number 6 at the time. So overall, I mean, it's been a pretty bumpy last month for Michigan State. As for Wake Forest, they're also 2-3 in their previous 5 games. They lost to Syracuse. They beat Duke 39-27, decent win there. They got absolutely destroyed by Clemson, number 3 team in the nation, 52-3. They lost to Virginia Tech as well, 36-17. And then they beat NC State 44-10 on November 2nd. So really, I mean, overall, this has been overall a really good year for Wake Forest. No doubt about that. I mean, they have an 8-4 record right now, and I did expect Wake Forest at the beginning of the season to have a pretty good year. But overall, I mean, if Wake Forest could have just finished off their season, I know at one point, I mean, they were ranked pretty decently. I mean, for Wake Forest, just to flop like they did at the end of the season, it's pretty brutal for this team, which hasn't had a whole lot of success in the past. Some key stats. Both teams did have bumpy Novembers, no doubt about that. Michigan State does have more talent here than them, in my opinion. I mean, Wake Forest, of course, is not as big of a school. And Michigan State overall has got better recruiting. So overall, Michigan State certainly has more talent on their team than Wake Forest. But will Wake Forest be more motivated is the real question. Motivation is going to be a huge factor in this game. Honestly, these two teams are pretty evenly matched up. Wake Forest 8-4, Michigan State 6-6. Really, I think who's going to win this game is going to come down to who is the more motivated team. Is Michigan State going to be more motivated, or is Wake Forest? And we'll get to that in a second. Lower scoring game expected in my opinion. I think Wake Forest, even though they've got a really good offense, I think this game is going to be more of a low scoring one. Michigan State really likes their low scoring games apparently. But how would each team win? I think once again, if Michigan State can get out early, it's honestly going to depend also on who gets out early too. If someone can get up to a good 7-14, maybe 21 point lead, I think this game could be very well going towards their way. But also, once again, it's going to come down to motivation greatly. Typically, I mean, mental factor is a big key role in bowl games, and we've always seen that for sure. But my prediction for this one, halftime score 14-14 tie. And in your final score, it will be, actually I kind of recall that it's going to be more of a moderate scoring game. 31-28, Michigan State ends up getting the win here. I think we see a really good game out of these two teams. I think that it's gonna be close, certainly the entire time. 14-14, of course, will be tied at halftime. But Michigan State, I think, will win off of a field goal, probably late off in the game, and that's gonna give them the win, 31-28. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts on this game in the comments below. Do you think Wake Forest can get the win? Of course, I would not be surprised a single bit if Wake Forest got the win here. Of course, they do have the better record, and both teams are Power 5 conference teams, even though Michigan State is in the tougher conference. But nonetheless, yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts, though, once again, on this game in the comments below. Stay tuned for more Bowl previews coming up over the next couple days. We got lots coming out, so yeah, be sure to stay tuned for that. Thank you guys all for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to, and I will see you all later.